Doing science projects in the sewers. Here's your look at the brand new Playmates toys. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, Donatello the Brains. Donnie is devastatingly smart and not afraid to let you know it. His intellectual self-assuredness has come across as arrogance, but it's just that his mind is thinking so many steps ahead that he's paralyzed with indecision. Well, we know he does machines, but what else does Donnie do? Before we answer that question, I'd like to first thank the folks over at Playmates Toys that did provide this sample of the brand new Mutant Mayhem Donatello that we could have a look at in this review. I'll bring in Leonardo in a second, the figure we've already had a look at from this line. In the meantime, though, Donatello stands about 4 3/4 of an inch tall, or the figure's about 11 centimeters in height. From what I can see, it seems to be the case that they're sharing the exact same body. That's Donatello and Leonardo, by the way. Along with that also goes some of the problems that I have with Leonardo, where the figures are having a harder time to stand. I think more of it has to do with the way they've actually designed the feet. The feet only just swivel back and forth, but with not adding actually a ball joint, I do find that the figures have a little harder time, and sometimes because of the weight on the backs of their bodies, the figures do fall forward or fall backwards. But in the case, though, between Leonardo and Donatello, obviously, other than just changing out the heads and adding some additional accessories that weren't present with Leonardo, it looks as if they're using the same bodies from one to the other. Bodies, though, aren't the only thing that's shared between the two figures. The figures also both come included with a pre-transformed or pre-mutated turtle. Let's just reach to the side and bring in the one that we got from Leonardo. It looks to be the case that they're using the exact same mold, and I can't blame them for doing it. I mean, they're fine-looking turtles. I don't expect necessarily where the shells have to be different from one to the other. Coloring is obviously very different from one another. You've got Donatello's more of a lighter yellowish green, where comparing then the two, Leonardo's is a much darker green. I still understand why there's peg holes in the undersides of those. There seems to be holes for no reasons whatsoever, and I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. But for right now, the turtles do have, unfortunately, holes on the bottoms of their bodies. Moving those to the side, the figure also comes included with a weapons rack, and it's not the same weapons rack that we got with Leonardo, although the mutagen canister is one thing that does get carried over from one to the other. You can see the ones down there for Leonardo, the one up here for Donatello. They seem to be the same. Let me just flip this around. Not quite the same. Donatello's is still fully intact. Leonardo's clearly has a very obvious slash or crack in it, leaking some of the necessary mutagen inside and probably causing a lot of these turtles to mutate. The weapons racks themselves, I've still yet, as you can clearly see with Leonardo, I've yet to do his, and still not sure if I'm going to do it with Donatello's, but you can remove the weapons from the weapons rack. He gets himself like a sectional bow. He gets already the mentioned mutagen canister with handle. He also gets himself a shuriken, and he gets himself a slice of pizza, which isn't as questionable perhaps as the gray pizza that came included with Leonardo, and it seems also that he got himself a spear with a blade on the end of it. These easily just attach, and some of them at least, like the shuriken for example, can attach then to the provided holes on the sides here. In fact, just to do this right now, because I've actually yet to do this, I'm doing this in the middle of a video. Let's just detach these. I don't want to break the plastic, of course. You just have to wiggle these back and forth till finally the plastic gives way. Might even have been easier just to use like clippers or something, for example. Well, they seem a little harder to do. Let's see if wiggle it back and forth. I wasn't really planning to do this, but curiosity did get the better of me. There we go. Just removing the extra bit of plastic. I could do that a little bit. Actually, you know what? We'll do this right now. There we go. Little bit of a stress mark there. I wasn't the neatest to do this, but yeah, it does fit onto then the provided pegs. And I guess as well, you could probably put them anywhere, really. The ones on the top seem to be almost thicker than the ones this side. I don't know, like the shuriken seems to hold a little bit better to the top. Let's try back to the side here. That sits a little looser. That's a little strange. Other than the little stress mark that I did. That's my fault. I take ownership to that. Yeah, you can remove the weapons. I'm still probably going to be keeping them for the weapons on the rack for right now. I just did want to at least remove one of them to show you the way it attaches onto the peg. Matching to the same color scheme as the weapons rack, you get yourself the staff for Donatello. I'm kind of confused as to why they decided to use orange. For me at least, I probably would have gone the route of yellow. Orange is, again, closer to the original retro toy line, but I think for Donatello, especially for his color scheme and the fact that he does that purple, I think yellow almost would have lent better to the idea of using those for the color of the accessories that the figure comes included with. Anyways, though, the figure does have the means to hold the bow staff. You simply just can pop it into his hand, and because again he does have the hinge in the elbows, you can then take the other hand and just slide then the bow staff in place, and you can have Donatello wielding it with both hands. What you can do, though, is differently, at least better than Leonardo could do. On the back of it, he does again have the little holstered section where you can take then the bow staff, slide it down, and once you pretty much get to this area that's thicker than the sides on the end of it, then it holds a lot easier, and the bow staff's not going to go anywhere. I still would have preferred yellow myself rather than actually going orange, but I like, at least in this case, unlike Leonardo, he has the means to store the bow staff if he's not going to be displaying it in his hand. He has, though, one other accessory, and that's the figure comes included with earphones. Now, these headphones do fit, I'm guessing, over top of his head. The thing about it, though, is it doesn't fit very well at all. To put it on his head, I find every time I do this, they just want to slide off. And while carefully doing this, you want to make sure as well you don't remove his glasses. The glasses are removable, although the way they have attached it, I don't know if I'd want to really remove the glasses for the risk that I would have a harder time to put them back in place. But if I was to, say, try to put the headphones over top of his head, you can see just the way they slide right off. I don't know if they're supposed to necessarily go sideways, but even then, they just barely stay on his head. I would not even take the risk of having this running over the course of the review and just have the headphones in place, because I'm sure sooner or later, pew, it's going to probably shoot across the room. It's probably going to end up somewhere over there. I don't know where that's supposed to go, not unless it's really just supposed to go around his head, or maybe you're just supposed to clip it somewhere onto his shell. There doesn't seem to necessarily be a place where you can store the headphones, other than maybe just having them sideways, or again, like you pop the head maybe off the ball joint, and you can fit them maybe around his neck. You can put them around this way, but that just looks a little awkward. So I'm not really sure whereabouts the headphones are supposed to go. If the plan is really to have them this way, then they don't fit properly on Donatello's head. Already looking at the fact that the figure does have removable glasses, the glasses, just be though careful of it, the glasses do come off in theory, but again, the way they attach back into place, I don't know if you can actually see it, there's a hole on either side of his bandana, and there's these tiny, tiny little pegs on the stems of the glasses that you just fit those in place. I almost feel compelled to probably glue them just because I don't want the glasses to fall off. Something that seems to be now a trait with Donatello is he tends to always now wear glasses. I think it actually works quite well for the character. Now, his face is pretty similar, in fact, to the one that we got with Leonardo. Although with Donatello's, it seems to almost be the case that his face is wider, and he doesn't obviously have visible teeth on both sides. He only has it on the one side. I like actually the color for Donatello a little bit more. I always tend to like Donatello toys a little bit more than Leonardo and the rest of the brothers, and I think that this one actually looks a lot better than Leonardo. I still like Leonardo, but I like the color scheme and the purple that they chose for Donatello just a little bit more. Something that you may have already noticed is the fact that the figure does have a fanny pack. What, we're bringing fanny packs back now in? The fanny pack does fit technically around his shell. Periodically, though, you may find myself, or you may see me, actually kind of shimmying the fanny pack back up onto his shell, because every time I want to move the figure around, the fanny pack always wants to start sliding down his shell. I suppose I could probably just fit it around the top area, but it's a little tight to fit it that way. I think I'm just going to leave it, but I want to make sure that I don't want to have this slipping off the figure's body either. The fanny pack looks good. On the top of it, it does seem to have a cell phone. The cell phone is not removable. I thought that there was probably a way to take this off, but any time to try to remove it, it seems like it's permanent, and I definitely don't want to stress that out either. He does have the D, though it's concealed again by the fanny pack. You can barely make out it. It looks like a D. It could be a D. It could be a capital B. We all know it's a D, though. There's a little bit of silver paint that's added there as well. On the back of it, I don't know if they've actually painted the belt or if the belt is just molded in black plastic, but either way, there's a lot of cool colors being used here. I like the color of the fanny pack as well. Like also Leonardo, and tends to be the case with also Turtle Toys. You have the elbow pad, you have the wrist band matching the colors of the headband. And just to bring it up once again for color matching, it's pretty close. Like the headband maybe seems a little bit lighter in color than what we get here for the elbow pads, but it's pretty close though. Still, though, one problem I have with the Turtle line is not so much the legs. Now, the legs, I can obviously live with the fact that the way they've actually articulated the figure, you can move it forward and back this way, but in order to move it out, you have to turn the leg to match, well, the angle of the swivel. So the swivel has to be on the side in order to make the leg go out this way. I'm okay with that. The thing about it, though, is with the feet only move back and forth this way. And I find sometimes I end up having to kind of bend the feet in order to get the figures to stand properly. The feet are flat enough in most of the cases, but I might might even just heat these just a little bit more so the figure lean a little bit better than what they do. Still, I'm perplexed as to why there's hexagonal display stand holes almost on the bottoms of their feet, almost as if the figures had plans to be included with either a display stand or they're probably going to be using it for something else. It just is a very unique shape to not use anything with it. You know what I mean? Like, I would think like a display stand should have then come included with it if they're going with very unique peg holes like this. For the figure's articulation, it's going to be exactly the same as Leonardo, so the head does rotate back and forth. It does look up and it does look down, and that you can also rock it back and forth as well. Just be careful, though, that you don't clip the glasses in the process. The arms rotate back and forth. They would have, in theory, rotated all the way around, but again, like the shell kind of gets in the way of things. You can bring the arms out at easily 90 degrees and even beyond that. The elbow does have a hinge joint, so you can not only bend it there, but you can also rotate the forearm back and forth, and the hands also rotate all the way around. Again, like the only thing is the fanny pack always wants to shimmy down the bottom of the shell, so you may always find yourself kind of readjusting it that way. The legs, we've already looked at the fact that they do move forward and back this way, but if you want to have them going this way, you just want to twist the leg to face that direction, and then you can angle it out. Doing it that way, you get about that far of a splits for Donatello, and also was the same as well for Leonardo. He has a single hinge only, just in the knee, but it allows the lower leg to rotate back and forth, and the figure, once again, only has pegs for his feet, which is fine and good, but it means that when it comes to displaying the figures, I have to always kind of lean the figures forward. I mean, again, like just to bring the legs a little bit more further. I would like to be able to use a display stand, but again, the way they've designed the holes in the bottoms of the feet, they are sort of really dedicated to one unique shape for a display stand that never comes included with this figure line so far, at least. I don't know, again, what the holes are planned for. Maybe down the road we are going to be getting ourselves vehicles. You can kind of already see, like with the amount of plastic that they put on the back of the shell, the turtles are always prone to falling backwards. Yeah, you do have to kind of angle the thighs further forward, and even just kind of bending the feet just a little bit, so they have better footing than what they already have when you get them first out of their packaging. With a little bit of the P's, that's patience and persistence, by the way, you eventually can get the headphones attached onto Donatello's head. They're, though, frictioned on there, and the stretching that you do to the headphone headband with a little bit of movement, and it takes just very little to move his head, move his arms, or dare I say the figure takes a tumble. Across the room, those headphones go, and then you have to kind of go and find them before the cat gets them. He does look good, to be fair, with the headphones, but I wish there was an easier way, or I wish that they made the headphones wider so that you didn't have to literally force them on his head and just literally don't breathe around him. The figure also does have not only including the headphones, but also a weapons rack. I just don't happen to have the figure displayed with it right now. And he does also have the bow staff. I do wish, though, that the bow staff and the weapons rack was a different color than orange. It would work, I feel, with, say, Michelangelo. But I think for Donatello, if all the colors are different, it seems to be the case that Leo and Raphael are having a silver weapons rack. I think Michelangelo and Donatello are orange. And orange works fine for Michelangelo, but I think for Donatello, I think yellow would have worked better for like his bow staff and the included accessories. That's just my own personal opinion. When it comes to standing the figure, yeah, he is going to have a little harder time to stand. I would certainly say don't put this guy in any crazy looking poses. Standing him straight like this is fine and good, but the way they've swiveled the ankles, the figure frequently will fall backwards on you. And I do wish for that reason, especially considering they gave a very unique peg hole in the undersides of his feet, that they could have also included display stands. I know they don't tend to include display stands when it comes to their turtle line of figures, but I wish in this case that they included it just so that the figures wouldn't fall as much as they have been so far. But what do you guys think of Donatello? Let me know down below in the comments section, and of Leonardo, and of now Donatello. Which do you think is the better, cooler looking turtle? I'm leaning more towards Donatello, but I'm generally biased when it comes to Donatello toys. I tend to like those more than, say, the rest of the turtles. I personally like Donatello a little bit more. Whether that, though, will change when we look at Michelangelo and Donatello, and Michelangelo and Raphael, time will only tell. You certainly will have to stay tuned for the remaining 2 reviews. Big thank you once again to the folks over at Playmates Toys that did provide the sample of the brand new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem Donatello that we could have the chance to have a look in this review. If you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly do want to stick around for the other 2 reviews of the turtle figures, make sure, if you haven't already done so, that you hit that subscribe button down below. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you turn on the bell notifications so you're going to get reminders every single time, hopefully every single time, a new video posted by the person behind the camera. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.